Imagine living a life where no insult can disturb you, no setback can break you, and no external chaos can rob you of your peace. Picture yourself walking through storms of uncertainty, criticism, and failure with the same calmness as if you were walking through a quiet garden. That unshakable calm, that deep strength, is what Stoicism offers. For thousands of years, philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca lived by principles that made them untouchable by the storms of life. And today we can use those same principles to build mental armor so strong that nothing can truly affect us. But the question is, can these ancient lessons still guide us in a modern world filled with noise, comparison, and constant stress? The answer is yes, and once you understand these 10 principles, you'll see how every difficulty becomes manageable, every insult becomes irrelevant, and every fear loses its grip on you. The first principle is control. Not control over everything, but control over the only thing that truly belongs to you, your mind. Most people spend their lives fighting battles outside of their control. They stress over how others see them, they panic over the economy, they rage about the unfairness of life. But the Stoics remind us that our energy must be directed only toward what we can influence. If it's inside your will, focus on it. If it's outside your will, let it go. Imagine the freedom of living this way. You stop arguing with reality, you stop being a victim of circumstances. The traffic jam no longer ruins your day, because you realize it's beyond your influence. The rude comment doesn't poison your mind, because another person's tongue is not in your control. You reclaim all that wasted energy and focus it where it matters: your character, your actions, your choices. The second principle is impermanence. Everything you see, touch, and experience is temporary. Pain is temporary. Joy is temporary. Even life itself is fleeting. The Stoics trained themselves to accept this truth so deeply that they stopped clinging to what must eventually pass. When you remember that every moment is temporary, you stop overreacting to hardships because you know they too shall fade. And just as important, you learn to cherish what is here now. That morning coffee, that laugh with a friend, that quiet walk. You see them not as ordinary, but as fragile gifts that won't last forever. Instead of being crushed when things slip away, you're grateful you had them at all. This isn't cold detachment, it's fierce appreciation. The third principle is discipline of desire. We live in a world where marketing and temptation pull at us every second. Ads whisper that happiness comes from the next purchase, the next luxury, the next indulgence. But Stoicism flips this idea on its head. Happiness doesn't come from chasing more, it comes from needing less. The Stoics practice simplicity, even voluntarily exposing themselves to discomfort so that they would not be ruled by desire. If you can enjoy a simple meal, if you can sleep peacefully without needing the softest bed, then life cannot bribe you or control you. The less you need, the freer you are. Think about how powerful that is. If you can be content with little, then luxury becomes a bonus, not a requirement, and nobody can dangle desires over you as chains. The fourth principle is resilience to insult. How often do we let a single harsh word ruin an entire day? A stranger cuts us off in traffic, a coworker mocks us, someone online leaves a nasty comment. Suddenly our peace collapses. The Stoics understood that insults are powerless unless we hand them power. Marcus Aurelius said that if someone criticizes you, either they are right, and you should learn, or they are wrong, and their words are meaningless. In both cases, why be angry? Imagine being immune to insults, not because you are arrogant, but because you see them as nothing more than air passing through lips. The insult belongs to the speaker, not to you. It is their weakness revealed, not your wound. When you see it this way, you stop being a puppet whose emotions are pulled by other people's words. The fifth principle is acceptance of fate. The Stoics called it amor fati, the love of fate. This doesn't mean you resign yourself to misery, it means you embrace whatever happens as part of the grand design of life. Instead of resisting reality, you flow with it. When something difficult happens, you don't say, "Why me?" You say, "Why not me? This is part of my path, part of my training." Every obstacle becomes fuel for growth. Epictetus, born a slave, crippled and mocked, still rose to be one of the greatest teachers of philosophy because he embraced his fate and turned hardship into wisdom. If he could transform chains into strength, then so can you with whatever challenge stands in your way. The sixth principle is control of emotions. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions, it means mastering them so they don't master you. Anger, jealousy, fear. These emotions rise like waves, but you are not the wave, you are the ocean. You allow the waves to come and go, but you remain steady beneath them. The Stoics trained themselves to pause before reacting, to ask, does this emotion serve me? Or does it enslave me? By creating that space between stimulus and response, you step into true freedom. No longer do you lash out in anger or crumble in fear. Instead, you act with intention. You become the commander of your inner state, not a prisoner of it. The seventh principle is virtue as the highest good. For the Stoics, wealth, fame, and pleasure were not true measures of a good life. The only thing that defined a person was their virtue, their wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. Imagine a world where people cared less about appearing successful and more about being honorable. Where instead of chasing status, we chased integrity. That's the Stoic path. Because money can be stolen, beauty fades, and reputation changes with every rumor, but virtue is the one treasure that can't be taken away. It's who you are when everything else is stripped from you. The eighth principle is negative visualization. It may sound strange, but the Stoics would imagine losing what they loved. A friend, a home, even life itself. They didn't do this to be gloomy, they did it to prepare their minds. When you imagine loss, you appreciate more deeply what you have, and when life inevitably takes something away, you're not shattered, because you rehearsed it. Think of it as mental armor. Instead of living in denial that everything is fragile, you live in gratitude that you even had it at all. This doesn't make you cold, it makes you warmer, more alive to the moment, less entitled, more appreciative. The ninth principle is living according to nature. The Stoics believed that harmony comes from aligning with reason and the natural order. To them, living against nature meant chasing endless greed, ignoring wisdom, and acting in ways that harm others. Living with nature meant simplicity, rational thought, kindness, and contribution to the greater whole. If you align your life this way, you stop feeling lost, because you're living as you were designed to live. Rational, resilient, connected, and purposeful. The 10th and final principle is memento mori, remember you will die. To modern ears, this may sound dark, but to the Stoics it was liberating. When you remember that death is inevitable, you stop wasting life on trivialities. Petty arguments lose their grip. Fear of embarrassment shrinks. Suddenly, you see time for what it is. The most precious currency you will ever hold. To remember death is to remember life, to use every moment wisely, to love deeply, to act bravely, because you know the hourglass is running. Instead of fearing death, you let it sharpen the way you live. And when you put all these principles together, control, impermanence, discipline of desire, resilience to insult, acceptance of fate, mastery of emotions, virtue as the highest good, negative visualization, harmony with nature, and remembrance of death, you build an inner fortress. The storms of life will still come, but they won't shake you. You'll walk through chaos with calm, through insults with silence, through loss with gratitude. You won't be untouchable because life never touches you, but because you've learned how to hold yourself above it. That is the promise of Stoicism, not that life will be easy, but that you will be unbreakable.